Whether you're being transferred here for work or you just want a green card and you're thinking about Florida because you are done with winter, I want to talk to you about moving to Florida from Europe. Now, if you're looking at me and wondering, how does this American woman know anything about this topic? Let me share with you one thing. Back when I was in my mid-20s, right after college, I packed up and moved to Europe. And I didn't come back to the United States until I was married and had 2 kids. So I spent quite a lot of time in Europe. And when I came back here, I was really more of a European than I was American. Sure, I speak the language, I have an American accent, and you would think it would be a very, very simple transition for me. And yet, I still struggled. So drawing on my own experience, as well as that of many, many clients that I have helped purchase homes in Florida from Europe over the years, I'm going to give you my top tips on things to keep in mind if you are moving here from Europe. Now, I don't know what position in life you're in. You may travel here frequently with work. You may not know anything about Florida. So some of this information may be too basic and some of it may be too advanced, but I hope that you'll be able to find something useful in it. So stick around. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Krista. I'm a realtor here in Central Florida, and I have been helping people buy or sell real estate in this area for 11 years. And if you're thinking about moving to the Central Florida area, here's all of my contact information. I love hearing from people moving here who need help. Please feel free to reach out to me in whatever way is most convenient for you. Now, when I made the move to Florida, it was over 10 years ago. YouTube wasn't really so developed as it is now, and there wasn't as much information available online, so you are already starting in a better position than I was. However, these are things that I have noticed that I want to pass on to you. Tip number 1, unless you're being sent here with a job, you are going to have your choice of where to live in Florida. So what I want to say to you is to plan carefully. What we did worked out really, really well for us, and that is we basically found an Airbnb and rented it for 6 months. I wrote to the owner, I negotiated a lower price than it would have been because the daily rate is higher. You can feel free to do that. We rented a furnished apartment and we lived down in Kissimmee, which is really close to Disney. And so I'm really glad that we did that because that's a very touristy area. We really enjoyed our time there, but we used it as a base to go and travel and visit different cities on the weekends or whenever we had time, and we tried to get a feel for where we wanted to live. I suggest that you look at this time as a research period. Don't get too caught up in the tourist stuff, but do take a look at it, but remember that it's not all about that. Go visit the beach, go visit Disney, but visit neighborhoods as well because there's a wide variety. You can live in an area with a downtown, you can live in an area that's far away. There are gated communities, there are non-gated communities, homeowners associations or areas without homeowners associations. I'm going to put up a link to that video so you can get some idea of what that means, but just explore as much as you can. On weekends, there are things called open houses, which is when realtors who have houses for sale will allow just anybody to come in and take a look. I would suggest you do that. Those are typically on Sunday afternoons, and just try to get a feel for what style of home you like. We wound up in the Central Florida area simply because we felt that it would be close enough to the beach that we could be there on the weekends. We could avoid the higher taxes of being closer to the water, the higher homeowners insurance payments, and we felt that we would be safer from the harsh weather that tends to hit the coastline. So that's how we wound up in Central Florida. Tip number 2, do consider what you bring with you. Now, when we moved here, I hired a shipping container and shipped a lot of stuff that my husband basically still makes fun of me about. Stuff is pretty inexpensive in America, at least compared to where I was coming from. Furniture is a lot more expensive than where I was, and frankly, the style is completely different. So some of the things that I insisted on bringing along, I don't really use, I didn't really need. If you're really frugal, we have things in America called garage sales. And this my husband found very confusing at first because people will put up handwritten signs along the road on the weekends that says garage sale. There's an arrow pointing in the direction of where the garage sale is. He thought it meant that people were actually selling their garages. That's not the case. On the weekends, people will sell their extra stuff for a little bit of cash. You'll notice when you get here that a lot of garages are very, very full full of things. People will eventually want to clear out that garage, and you can buy items very, very inexpensively. We bought like a dining room set, table and chairs. It was a couple of $1,000s new, and I think we got it for $100. Do keep that in mind. There is a very, very vast market of used stuff available in America, and furniture styles again are different. The size of the rooms is different, and you may just be able to save that money that you would pay on the shipping container shipping stuff over. Relatedly, think about your clothing. If you're coming to Florida and you're living in Northern Europe, 90% of your clothing is going to be useless here because it is just so hot. I brought wool sweaters along. Why? I have no idea. I have donated all of them. It's just not something you're really ever going to wear or need. You can forget about your boots. I mean, unless you're going to go traveling a lot and you maybe need 1 or 2 pairs to take with you on your travels, you are not going to need it here. And I know that when you arrive in America, clothing styles are going to look strange. Our clothing is baggier, bigger, and we wear a lot of shorts and flip-flops. Chances are, unless you are really, really going to maintain that European look, you are going to give in to the American style, and after a year or two, it's all going to start to look normal to you. I would caution you to just consider what you're bringing. You may not need anywhere near as much stuff as you think you do. Tip number 3, when you do actually decide to either rent something long-term, and rental terms here are usually a year or longer if you're renting a place that doesn't have furniture in it, or you're going to buy a home, consider the size of your home very, very carefully. Now, where I was coming from, my apartment was 48 square meters, so just around 500 square feet. So when we got to Florida, we started looking at places that were about 1,000 square feet, which I realize now is actually difficult. Most houses are much larger than that, but we thought 1,000 square feet sounded really, really large. That seemed just right for us. But I will tell you that we filled that place up very, very quickly, and we outgrew it very, very quickly. Americans are consumers. We like large things, and we like to buy a lot of things. Things in general here are rather inexpensive. It's a very, very large market. Maybe the European mindset is a little different, where you like a few quality things, and sure, some Americans are like that too, but for the most part, you don't have to look further than the local Walmart to understand what I'm talking about. We buy a lot of stuff, we use a lot of stuff, and we buy large amounts of stuff. A lot of Americans join bulk clubs, so you have a place like Sam's Club or Costco where you pay $50 to become a member, and then you buy stuff in large quantities. And I remember, yes, as I mentioned, I'm an American, but walking through Sam's Club, and I was just shocked at the size of the things I was supposed to buy. Like, if I was used to buying a little package of sugar like this big in Europe, they sell it like this, like a couple of kilograms of sugar, and you have to have a place to store that. If you're buying a really, really small place, you're gonna run out of room quickly. We don't typically buy toilet paper in packs of 4, we buy it in packs of 48. So that can take up half of your closet if you're in a really tiny place. Now, this may seem absurd, but I promise you, you will fall into this trap of buying large amounts of stuff very quickly because it's less expensive. It's just something I want you to keep in mind. The houses may seem way too big at first, but you can very, very quickly fill them up. One nice thing, relatedly, that I have noticed is that now the MLS automatically populates square footage into square meters, because when I got here, I had no way to relate what a square meter was versus a square foot. I was thinking in meters. I could not find a realtor that could help me with that. And I do want to explain something else. When we talk about size of homes here, you may see something like 322. What does that mean? Well, it means it has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car garage. But if you see something that says 3 2.5, that means it has 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, which means it has a toilet, a sink, and a shower or a bathtub. But a half bathroom is just a toilet and a sink. So if you see that it's a 3 2.5, it means it has 2 full bathrooms and 1 half bathroom. Tip number 4, keep an open mind about what the houses look like, the architectural styles. In Florida, we don't typically have very old homes. We do have the oldest city in the United States, and that's St. Augustine. But even there, you'll be hard pressed to find houses that are older than the late 1800s. Oftentimes when I'm working with European clients, they're very confused about the style of the houses that we have here. And Florida seems to have its own little style of home with a pool in the back, and maybe there's a man-made lake behind it. And sometimes people don't like the way it looks and they're trying to find something that looks more like what they're used to from home. So here's my cautionary tale. I had a client a few years ago and I showed him numerous homes and he just didn't like any of them. He really was bothered by certain things in the layout of the house, and so he decided that he would build. Now, back when he was looking, the housing market was very, very much a buyer's market, and I strongly encouraged him to just kind of make peace with these houses because the prices were like a third of what they had been 5 years before then. But instead, he decided to purchase land, and he was going to build a home using imported birch logs from his home country. Well, I spoke to a builder about this man's plan, and the builder told me, listen, those logs are going to be eaten by termites before we can even use them to build the house. He needs to forget about that idea. A couple of years passed. He never did build his house. He ended up selling the land either for what he paid for it or just slightly less. So he took a bit of a loss on it. You can build a custom home if that's what you're interested in. There's certainly no problem with that, but you need to keep it realistic, do some research, and probably your least expensive option is still going to be to find an existing inventory home that's already available here. And that may take some getting used to, but rather than trying to build something that's like from your home country, which is then going to be difficult for you to resell, you should probably try to keep an open mind about what's available here already. Tip number 5, your credit score. Your credit score affects how you're going to buy a home or even rent a home. What's a credit score? Well, basically, it is a number value assigned to you as a borrower that tells lenders how likely you are to pay back what they loan you. The higher your score, the more favorable terms you're going to be able to loan money. Your credit score will affect your ability to turn on utilities like electric and water, your ability to purchase a cell phone, and of course your ability to rent or purchase a home. When you first arrive here, you may not have a credit score at all. And the best thing that you can do is go to a bank and set up what's called a secured credit card. A secured credit card is when you put money into an account, let's say $1,000, and they give you a credit card which will then be paid off directly from that account. They're not actually loaning you money that they don't already have from you, but it is a way to show them that you are paying back the loan. So in order to be able to buy a home, typically a lender wants to see that you have 3 lines of credit. So typically that's done by having 3 credit cards that you are successfully paying off each month. That will help to build your credit score so that you'll be able to purchase a home with more favorable terms. Of course, if you have cash to pay for a home, then this is not an issue. Tip number 6. Find a real estate agent. Realtors or real estate agents in the state of Florida and really everywhere in the United States are licensed, and we have to take educational classes every year to maintain our license. We get paid by the seller of a home. That means our services to you as a buyer are free. Did you hear that? We work for you for free. So a real estate agent or a realtor can be a very, very big asset to you when you first get here because we can help you determine where you want to live, what style of home you want, if you want to live in a condo or a townhouse or a single family home, which are all very different. And so you should find someone that you trust who can help you. Now, if you're determining still whether you want to live in Miami or Tampa or Orlando, it may be too early because we are somewhat limited geographically as to where we can work in the state, or we maybe can work everywhere, but it's going to be complicated if you're working with someone who really doesn't know the area. So what I suggest you do is narrow down where you want to live, but do find a realtor early on. I made that mistake when I got here. I did not get a realtor. I felt like I made some mistakes in the purchase of our first home that we could have avoided if we had had an advisor helping us. Again, our services are free to you as buyers. Any one realtor can show you all the properties that are for sale. I recommend that you find someone that you trust early on and start working with someone directly. Tip number 7, schools. Now, even if you don't have kids, schools are really important when you're choosing a home and where to live in Florida. That's because each home is zoned to a specific school. So if you purchase a home that is zoned to a not very good school, your house will be more difficult to sell down the road when you want to sell it. It's very easy to go online and each county will tell you what school your home is zoned for, the home that you're looking at is zoned for, and then you can research and find out if that's a desirable school or not a desirable school. In Florida, if you want to send your child to a public school, which is a free education, you are assigned a school. Now, you do have some choices within the county that you live in. You can send your child to a magnet school, which is a public school that has set up a specific program designed to attract students from other parts of that county because typically that school is underpopulated. So they may set up a special music program or a special math and science program or a special art program, something to that effect. There are also charter schools, which are sort of grassroots schools that maybe a group of parents got together and developed based on a specific need, and they have received county funding to set up that school. So those are the exceptions. You can send your student to a magnet school or a charter school that won't be your local school that you are zoned for. But nonetheless, it is important to take that into consideration. There are grades given to schools. There are F-rated schools and there are A-rated schools, A-rated schools being the very, very best. For resale value, you should try to locate and determine what type of a school your house that you're looking at is zoned for. Tip number 8, if you're confused, don't be afraid about asking for help. Americans aren't necessarily the most well-traveled bunch internationally, but they are by and large friendly and willing to help. And if you really look around, chances are you'll be able to find people from your own home country if you so desire. You'll probably be able to find food or restaurants from your country if you just research a little bit. People from all over the country and all over the world are attracted to Florida and come here in droves. And so there's no reason for you to feel out of place. Reach out if you need help. So those are my top tips on moving to Florida. Look, if I can do it, you can do it. If you need help, if you're stuck, reach out. I'd be delighted to help you. Thanks for watching.